there's your video here. All right, go ahead. It started. See how it's running. Got 19 minutes. All right, I walked up toward it. It's not leaning to the left or right. There's no puddling on the ground underneath it. Nothing hanging down. Got 5 amber lights across the top. Not bent, broken, or cracked. No moisture. That would cause them to short out. I'm gonna open my hood light. Pop this in here. Come over here and pop this in here. The way I like to do it, right here, put your foot up, pop it, come to this side. Now, it's been a while since I've been on this truck here, but they're all the same. Got plenty of room. I start with my radiators properly mounted and secured. Got an upper radiator hose and a lower radiator hose. Properly mounted and secured, not dry rotted. The radiator's not leaking. I've got a fan shroud, properly mounted and secured. I've got my fan blades, properly mounted and secured. None of them are bent, broken, or cracked, or missing. Got a dry belt, not more than 3/4 inch of play in it. It's not dry rotted. As you can see, the alternator's not held on too good. On this truck. Speaking of alternator's properly mounted and secured. Got the wires right here, they're not loose. Okay. Coming back up here, I've got some fuel filters, properly mounted and secured, and they're not leaking. Got my ECU box, properly mounted and secured. Got my radiator overflow tank. You've got your cold level and your hot level. It's in between both of them. You can shake it and see. See it move? Cap's not leaking. Cap's not leaking. Hose, not dry rotted. Come on back here to the firewall. I've got an air junction box right here. I hear no air loss. The air lines are in satisfactory condition. It's attempting to say good, but you don't say good. I've got a fuse box properly mounted and secure with electrical running out. There's no chafing on the electrical wires. Another fuel water separator right here, and those down there are oil filters. Properly mounted and secured, not leaking. This section of the frame rails, properly mounted and secured, no cracks. It has not been welded upon. You're not supposed to weld on these frames. Steering column right here, properly mounted and secured, no more than 2 inches of free play. Grease fittings, universal joint going into the steering gearbox. No excessive wear, properly greased. Steering gearbox is properly mounted and secured to the frame by these bolts here. And it is not leaking. There's a seal right here for this gearbox. If it's leaking, you'd see evidence right here. That's a pitman arm. That's a drag link. This is a steering knuckle right here. All properly mounted and secure, properly greased, no excessive wear. While we're down here, I'm going to look at I want to go all the way down to the bottom. Got a tie rod. Properly mounted and secure, going all the way across the width of the vehicle. It's properly mounted and secured by a castle nut and a Carter key. I've got my front I-beam axle, properly mounted and secured by kingpins. Here's a kingpin on this side, and there's one on that side. There's no play, and it's properly greased. Since I'm up here, I got my brake chamber itself. It's properly mounted and secure to the steering knuckle here. It's a brake chamber clamp, an ABS line that's properly mounted and secure. The brake chamber itself is not damaged. No cracks, no dings. Air hose, not dry rotted. I hear no air loss from it. Okay, I have a push rod coming out of this brake chamber, and I have a clevis, and I have a slack adjuster. If I had the vehicle chalked and pulled out right here, I shouldn't be able to pull out more than 1 inch. Otherwise, the brakes would be out of adjustment. Now, let's talk about more suspension parts. Got a shock absorber, upper and lower bolt. It is not leaking. They want you to tell them it's not leaking if it ain't. I've got a leaf spring shackle, and then that up there is called a bracket. As you can tell, these have been freshly greased. They have grease fitting here, here, and one up there, blue grease, right? Leaf springs are vertically stacked. There's none missing, bent, broken, or cracked. This is a leaf spring clamp. This is U-bolts right here. Okay, U-bolts help hold the axle in along with the kingpins that I've already addressed. If this is on a real test, I'd be crawling under there, and there's a nut on this side and that side, this side and that side. Be checking that out. Okay, come back up here. Let me think just a second. I think I've got everything in this area here. Let's go to the inner rim. Inner rim's not bent, broken, or cracked, and it has not been welded upon. A lot of people that own their own trucks, they'll try to fix their own rims instead of buying new ones. They'll weld on it. Okay, then I have a brake drum, not bent, broken, or cracked, no oil. You say, how would you get oil in there? Well, you can. I'll explain that later. Brake pads have at least 1/4 inch of material on them. Okay, so I've already covered the rim, the drum, and the brake shoes. I said pads, I meant shoes. Sidewall of the tire here has got no bulges on it. which would indicate slip belt. We've got at least 4 30-seconds tread depth. Outer side wall, no bulges. The recommended tire pressure is written right here, which is 120 psi. In the center, you've got a hubcap. Remember when I was saying something about oil could get on your brake drum in there? Well, there's a bearings in here and an oil bath. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts holding this hubcap on right here. Check it. You pull this little rubber plug out and you should see oil in there. There's an oil fill line right here. Should be about half full. Okay, holding this whole wheel assembly on. 10 lug studs and lug nuts. There's no shiny threads on the lug studs. There's no rust on the lug nuts. Okay, the wheel is not bent, broken, or cracked. Also, I have a valve stem right here and a valve stem cap. If I were to check the air pressure, take the cap off, put the gauge on, add or subtract air as needed. This is just one complete wheel assembly and suspension components. I have the same on the other side, identical. Now the examiner may ask you, and can have you actually, I should say, run both sides wheel assembly and suspension components. So you ask her or him, hey, got the same over there, do I have to run it over there? No, go ahead and omit it, she'll more than likely say. Now, however, on this cab forward, there's a few more parts over there that you can't see from over here, so let's walk this way. So you come over here, a few more things you got to tell her. First of all, you come over here, and you can wait to ask about omitting the wheel assembly over here if you want to, that's up to you. Okay, so I've got a power steering pump, right? Reservoir, this is a power steering pump reservoir. You check it by pulling this cap out. There's a dipstick on this thing here. Engine has to be running, by the way, to do this. Wipe it off, reinsert it. Okay, pull it out and read. There's a fill mark on this power steering dipstick right here. There's an add or whatever, and it's got plenty. Like I said, you can't really get a good read unless the engine's running. Reservoir hose going up to a power steering pump. Okay, that's your AC compressor, properly mounted and secure. Here's where you add oil, and here's where you check oil. Pull it out, wipe it off, reinsert, pull it out, and read it. There's your engine turbo, properly mounted and secure there. This section of the frame says warning, do not heat, do not weld on it, or anything like that. Okay, so make sure that section of the frame's not bent, broken, or cracked. Here you've got a vertically stacked air compressor. How do you get air to your air brakes? That is also a fuel pump. The top part's the fuel pump, the bottom part's the air compressor. Must tell her it's an engine driven fuel pump and air compressor. Power steering pump's up here on the front. Also, I missed something up here on the front. You've also got a water pump on the front. It's right up yonder. Water pump's properly mounted and secured, and there's no missing bolts, and it's not leaking. Okay, done told you about the turbo. Here's my air cleaner. Here's my windshield washer reservoir right here. Properly mounted and secured. Don't have to worry about running that wheel assembly or suspension components. Okay, that's as far as we go. That's cab forward. Okay, we'll get the rest of this stuff when we run sides of the truck. Now, here's the real important thing to do. Now, I've run it fairly fast, so I'm going to go over in my head. Ma'am, if you'll allow me 30 seconds, I'm going to go back over what I told you, make sure I didn't miss anything. So, you don't have to say this out loud. Just kind of, all right, I got the fuel pump, I got the engine driven fuel pump and air compressor, I got the power steering pump, I got the water pump, HVAC air compressor, turbo, got the air filter, I got the windshield washer fluid reservoir. All right, what else do I need to get? I'm gonna get these mirrors when I do sides of the truck, so don't worry about that right now. Got that fuse box, that ECU, all these filters here, upper and lower radiator hose, I remember saying that. Tie rod, front I-beam axle, I've ran this wheel assembly. All right, I'm good with that, and that's about cab forward, and you can look at your timer on the video and see about how long it took. And,
9 minutes, 26 seconds.
All right, go ahead and, if you don't mind, hit the stop there.